Bueller.
Bueller.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Riche of the MHRT Network. Over that away, he is our rep from the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as the refs. If you ask any Raiders fan, we have Mr. Alex Gibbons. We got Alex Gibbons repping his Kansas City Chiefs. You can also catch him. You can also catch him directly after this podcast on the Lightning Fast Fantasy Podcast on Lockdown Defense YouTube channel, and Arrowhead Addict, where you can catch Alex's written content on his Kansas City Chiefs. Down directly below here is Jack Kenna representing his Las Vegas Raiders, and diagonally over that away, you got Robert Garcia repping the almost powder blue and gold
Color Rush jersey, all right?
That's Timu blue.
Listen.
Hey, AliExpress.
Hey, let's calm down, all right? We did. I don't know if y'all remember the Color Rush, all right? This was a thing like 7 years ago that the NFL did. Like,
dude, bring the Color Rush back.
Bring it back.
Thursday night was Color Rush night.
Yes, man. I love
got
Color
the highlighters.
Robert, you keep telling yourself whatever you want to tell yourself, okay? Just because you got that from a dude in the trunk of a car in a parking lot that swore it was a real legitimate jersey.
Hey, listen.
Okay, look, just
Philip Rivers gave it to me
from
himself.
California, it was probably fake. Okay, we'll just call it Ducky Duck. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah. So, anyways, guys, we had an interesting week 8 as we expected. Obviously, this is an AFC West roundtable show. I'm going to throw over to Jack to talk about his Las Vegas Raiders and their bout against the Chiefs, and then Alex, obviously, will get your feedback there as well. I'm going to be back in just one second, guys, and we will go from there.
Oh yeah. Well, it was a defensive battle. I mean, the Raiders didn't win this one, but I nailed the Kansas City score right on the dot, and my Raiders got more points than what I expected. So that was a positive. Actually, it was a really good game. I mean, it really boiled down to the defenses, doing their part. And Minshew didn't look horrible. He actually I think he had a better percentage than Mahomes in the game, except for he had that one fumble. But it really boiled down to like two big drives. One was the Mahomes pass interception, and Trevon Morgan got it, put him around I think around the 4. Offense couldn't do their part, punch it in, and they had another one later on, and Kelsey became Kelsey again.
That's right. That's why I wore it.
I figured. Yeah, he won it. That's the one thing I thought was Kelsey after the game.
Tight end day.
Well, he showed up as a tight end, and now he's the number 1 tight end against the Raiders all time. Yeah. He passed up Gonzalez, so big milestone for him. And he showed some pretty cool class at the end of the game too, going up to Brock Bowers and going, "Hey, yep, let's I'm going to shoot you my jersey, and you can shoot me mine, yours." So, but overall, I mean, it literally came down just to a couple series, and the Raiders played them well. They were in the lead for coming into almost like the second half. I mean, it was close, like a couple minutes before the end of the second quarter. Raiders were winning. They were in there. So it was a little shocking. Huh?
It was a sweaty game.
It was a sweaty game.
I will confess. There were parts where I was worried. Sure.
Yeah, like after that interception.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah.
But then once they did all the over the top celebrating, I was like, "Oh, dude, it's done. They're gonna come back," and they
Oh,
did. You know,
Jack, you guys had that game, man.
We did.
That pick when you guys got that pick on Mahomes and you were at, it was like first and goal, like at the 4 or something like
Yeah.
that. I was like, this is it right here. Like, this is where you steal 7, like Mahomes, Mahomes, and we'll get to him in a second when Alex goes. I don't know what the hell Mahomes is doing this season, man. This is not the MVP Super Bowl champion that we've seen over these past few
he's
seasons
undefeated.
before.
You-
I understand that. I understand.
He gets points when he needs to, Robert.
Well, I agree with that. The Raiders were number 2 in the league
Should.
on stopping the third down. Chiefs are number 4, and Mahomes just lit it up on third down. And we talked about this the last couple of weeks. Exactly. You need 3.5 yards. He gets 4, and he's been consistently doing that.
He may get it on third down or fourth down to convert, but he's doing it. Trust me. I talked to probably 5-10 minutes last week about. He has literally thrown an interception every game, and some of them are not entirely on him. That one certainly was, and sometimes, and I don't know what it is.
No, it wasn't really on him because he got blocked. His hand got hit, and John Jenkins, the Raiders' nose tackle, hit his hand, so the ball just kind of ducked up. So you can't really blame that on Mahomes.
No, it's. I think some of it is, the, they're kind of, the receiving core is kind of growing together every game as they go into this. With people that weren't necessarily considered to be the focal point of the offense coming into the season. And like you saw with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins, that's only going to help progress things. Like you felt his presence already out there, and they didn't even really try to utilize him too much. Making deals with cool Kev, dude. I need to know so we can announce on the show. I do agree.
No, Biggie. I don't want the Raiders to trade up for another quarterback. I don't want to give up draft capital.
Now is all about. Now it's all about just like building the defense. Developing the young guys they have now. Just riding out this season with Minshew, O'Connell, or Ritter, and seeing where the cards fall. But like I said, going into the game, Raiders defense is legit.
KC's defense is legit.
Dude, and that's what I was going to say next. Is that's part of I think why we see this Mahomes decline is kind of the identity of this team has shifted. In the last 2 years, where they arguably have the most elite defense, in the past 2 seasons. As I noted on the show last week, they have yet to give up 300 yards passing since the Super Bowl against the Eagles, which is just absolutely bonkers. But then, situations like with that pick, that moment right there is a big part of the reason why they lost on Christmas Day. Throwing a turnover in the negative part of the field and setting the Raiders up basically automatically for a touchdown. And Mahomes did that twice on Christmas Day in the span of 30 seconds of game clock. One they ran back in, but then, to see this is a testament of just how good the defense is, because he put them right back in that very situation, could have totally altered the game.
Absolutely.
And the Chiefs defense, showed up when they needed to. What they've done this whole
they blew it up.
Season.
They absolutely blew it up, and that just shows you how poor the offense is. And on the offense, right now it's Gonsby. He's on the hot seat. Even Pierce is starting to call him out now. So he needs to get his crap together. And it's some of the stuff that he does, I just still don't understand it. It's okay, I guess Thayer Mumford, again, he played 2 snaps.
Yeah.
At wide receiver. He's your right tackle.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, what the hell is that? I guess that was a design. The first time they got 7 yards, for a quick pass. And the next one, they fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't understand the concept of what they were trying to do. I could see maybe one play. You're going to do some sort of trick play. throw it out in the flat and hope we block some defensive back. But yeah, that didn't make a whole lot of sense at all.
Mhm.
And then the one thing that was kind of exciting, with Andre James going down, I was pretty happy to see JPJ go in at center.
Yeah.
And
He did
Jones
play
didn't get a
well.
sack. He didn't get a sack. So I was pretty happy with that. And I think
No,
the
they had
Raiders.
some good pressures, though. Yeah, I
Oh,
think they
no,
only.
he did other things.
Yeah, I
He,
mean, they
he
did
got
get
through the
5.
backfield.
They did get 5.
They got 5 sacks, but they weren't from him. So it was everybody else. But I am kind of, interested in seeing this next week against the Bengals. So Parham came back. James is out. So I would love to see JPJ stay at center and Parham go back to his position from last year at left guard and just forget Whitehair altogether.
Yeah.
That'll probably be their best offensive line unit they've had for the whole season.
That's a
I'd
Getsy
agree with
special
that.
right there.
Yeah. No, they absolutely. Yeah, they should do that. Hopefully they do. Because JPJ did look. I mean, that's his natural position. He looked pretty damn solid. So
I think I want to say I saw a stat where he was like 38 snaps and no pressures allowed. I want to say, or it was like something like 35 snaps or something like that. No pressures allowed by JPJ. Only reason I know that is because Joel also had 35 plus snaps and
pressures.
0 pressures.
So they were right next to each other.
Yeah, there was a couple of those O linemen on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I was rooting for y'all. I don't think I've ever was like rooted for a Raider team more than I was last Sunday. You guys 36.
And how did that go, Robert?
I said 35 plus. I said 30. Oh no, yeah, no,
not wrong.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen, but it was a great game. Typical AFC West, division battle. I mean, these are the kinds of games that we're all gonna have with each other. I don't think anybody. I want to say all of our games have been one score besides the week
Broncos
1.
Yet,
you guys haven't played the Broncos yet. Besides our game against the Raiders, I want to say all of our games have been one score or decided or less. So I'm very excited to see how this division I think is much better than a lot of people were expecting as a whole going into this season. I know the Raiders aren't exactly looked at as like a favorable team to make the postseason, but I mean, they're still.
No, they are 2-6.
Yeah, I mean,
not looking at the postseason anymore at that point.
Listen, but
I just want to be respectable.
They're a tough, they're still, a tough out. I mean, one of their wins was against the Ravens, and they are looked at as a playoff AFC favorite. So
but they also lost to Cleveland.
Yeah, and they also lost to Carolina. So, oh man, you're really not helping me, Jack. I'm trying to,
I know you're trying to bump it up, but I will say for all our AFC West teams, the defenses are all good this year.
Yes,
for sure.
And I'll go one step further. For Alex on KC. He held the Raiders under the KC defense held the Raiders under 40-yard rushing.
Yeah.
Madison, like 15 carries for 17 yards. Zeus, I think, had one carry for like -3. Shoot, I think, an average yard. I think Minshew had probably the best average, per rush on the team.
These like little birds chirping behind you, and it's like, it's pairing together nicely.
Not that I'm liking it, but it's just facts. But it's just such a defensive battle, and it could have been so different.
Yeah, that game. I mean, I'm telling you that it was not scoring. That was the Chiefs' defense at its best right there. Goal line stand. You had to have it. 4 down territory. I mean, that was the game right there, essentially. When you guys didn't score there, I think everybody, even Raiders fans, kind of knew to themselves, yeah, this one's over. Because if you can't convert that turnover into points, it's just not. It's not
Robert,
happening.
they even had a second chance at it.
Yeah,
and got the same result.
Mess with the ball, man. You get the horns. No,
Getty's got to go.
It's the running game, man. Like I feel like I've like a broken record, but that's always been my takeaway from watching the Raiders. Like, they just don't have a running game. And when you're that one-dimensional, with someone like Minshew back there, you're going to have a bad time. It's just like, because especially for a team like the Chiefs with Spagnuolo, like, he wants to blitz. And if he knows that you can't run the ball, he's only going to do it more. And he already does it 70% of the time. So, like, it's just, it's just not helping anyone out. And, like I said, with Gonsby, the only running success he ever had was just with an uber athletic freak at running back that could turn, broken pass play into a 30-yard game. And so, unless you guys call and get Justin Fields, like, I don't think that there's going to be any improvement with that.
I don't think Justin Fields would even, step on the field if he got traded.
Yeah,
I don't think he wants to play with him.
This guy again. No. Yeah.
My hamstring it's feeling a little off. It's from my hamstring. It feels weird.
Exactly.
Right.
It's funny how all these injuries. Like D-Hop had I think a lower leg injury, was classified as with the Titans, and the minute he lands in KC, he's like Willy Wonka. I'm fine.
He's pulling Devontae out.
Yeah, Devontae. Yeah,
Devontae.
Like Deontay Johnson out this last week with an injury, gets traded to the Ravens. Totally fine.
I mean, but half of that you have to think is the teams, right? Knowing that this player is going to get traded.
I mean,
we don't want to hurt our asset.
It's probably part of that too. But I mean, it's just funny when you look at it.
That's true.
It's just funny. But yeah, man. From the Chiefs' perspective, like I said, I mean, that game went about as I said it would, and be a one-score close battle. I think we saw a little bit. Honestly, I was pretty relieved leaving the game, saw a little bit more out of the passing attack than we have, and I think part of that can be attributed to adding DeAndre Hopkins out there. Because even when they weren't, I mean, they used him as a decoy at times, but it definitely opened things up. As evident, I mean, Kelsey came back to form a little bit. Worthy, I mean, had a lot more opportunities, I think, getting open from DeAndre Hopkins. So, excited to see how that continues to progress. But I mean, you saw good things with that. I mean, the turnover thing is still certainly room for concern because it happens every game now. But yeah, I mean, as long as the defense is playing the way that they do, it's tough.
I still don't understand how Kelsey just continues to do it against my team. They can't do it against any other team, and I got a good defense.
I really don't know. I think he just gets fired up,
10
man.
catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown.
I mean, on that third down, did you see?
Oh, my God.
Got it, and he goes right to Jack Jones. He's like, all that talking.
Yeah, right?
I was like, I love that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kelsey is just, for whatever reason, seems to be able to perform in these AFC West games, and just he like has his historic opponents. He always does good against. I mean, I don't get it. Some of that may be because of Hopkins, though. I mean, pretty early he was wide open, and then if you go back and look on the play Mahomes threw to Worthy for the third down conversion that he kind of like high pointed and then got knocked out, DeAndre Hopkins is wide open over the middle. Like, if he was 5 years younger, probably would have housed it. But so, I mean, I think things are only going to open up more with that addition, as well as, getting Pacheco back with the effectiveness of Kareem Hunt. I mean, they're maintaining the status quo to get healthy is seemingly working out right now. But yeah, I mean, the turnover thing, certainly something to be concerned about.
So who's your number 13?
Yeah.
He's a safety.
Oh, Cook.
Is he hurt?
No, Hicks. I don't think so.
All I know is that Minshew laid his ass out pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
Yeah,
but I guess going into what DZ said, they only also further added to the team, trading for Josh Uche from the Patriots for literally nothing.
What the hell, Patriots? What
Bill
are we
Belichick
doing?
Right after fun LeBron stat on Uche. Yeah, I did dig into it after we traded for him. Since 2022, he is the 5th in the NFL in pass rush win rate. So, I mean, that's definitely a Veach stat that he values. But like Belichick said on, it was McAfee right after the trade was announced. You know, like he's like, I think Uche's a tremendous rusher, and unfortunately just not getting many opportunities with the Patriots being so far behind in every game. So yeah, I mean, to add someone like that, it is a rental. I mean, he signed a 1-year deal, so it's, you know, whatever the 9 games they have left. But yeah, I mean, that's the types of moves, you know, we've seen Veach make in the past, and you know, I think that's
who's on contract year on your team.
I think Nick Bolton and Trey Smith are the.
I'm just asking on the edge and on the line, like
on the edge. I don't think anyone. Menahue, who's injured.
Well, free agent. What about Hunt? Hunt's gonna be a free agent, isn't he?
Kareem?
No, he's talking about the D line.
No, what I'm trying to look at
is,
I'm looking at Uche and I'm saying, like, a lot of times when you trade for a guy on the cheap, you're going to look at him compared to somebody else that you have on the roster.
Yeah.
Bringing him in the way you guys have done, right? And you guys might be looking at this. I'm not trying to project or steal your thunder here, Alex, but it's just, you know, it's not an uncommon, let's put it this way. Good teams stay good for a little while because they're managed well. The Chiefs are clearly managed well. Let's just call it plainly. And it pains me greatly to have to say that aloud, okay? Like right. Big time, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm
glad you said it. I didn't.
Menahue and Mike Dana. So I mean, those are both. Menahue's hurt right now. So I mean that they bring that depth in for that. But yeah, I'm sure they're probably evaluating the two and
What's Menahue's current contract? You
know, it wasn't. I mean, it was what I'm looking at it. 2 years, $16 million. I mean, it was pretty. But he was like a Veach signing, like. He got signed from the 49ers, and the big stat was like, you know, he had like an 80-something% pass rush win rate, just like was behind Bosa and Chase Young and these other guys.
Cool.
And then, I mean, comes in and performs. So, like, I mean, he knows what analytics he looks at, what he values these guys. But yeah, I mean, hell of a move to make.
So what about a 2-year deal for Uche? Assuming he plays pretty well for you guys this year. 2 years, $20 million. You allow the dude to make $10 million a year, which is pretty cheap for a decent, even rotational pass rush guy. Yeah. That would certainly be a favorable contract, and I could see someone like him doing that. Assuming he outplays that contract, he could be an excellent 2.5 year rental for you guys. And then maybe even trade him to a team that would give, if he's playing well, like over his skis in terms of contract wise, and then compare him to the other guys on the roster. I mean, it's one of those things that pisses you off as like an AFC West rival, which is the rich get richer because you got other guys on the team that are showing out too on the edge, right? Like
when you get D-Hop,
it's not like you don't have other talent on your D line.
It's not like they already didn't have an elite defense and they just added to it. So
yeah, exactly.
It's pretty sick, pretty sweet when you look at it.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs are definitely all in this year. We all know that they're going for history. They're going for the 3-peat. So they're gonna do everything and anything to solidify that. And
they're bringing in Uche is just a smart business move.
Oh, 100%.
It's just smart.
Yeah. They're playing to their strengths. I mean, anybody would want to get him on the cheap, but it just makes even more sense for the Chiefs because they're going for this 3-peat. And like you said, Rich, if this is somebody where like they re-sign with like a 2-year cheap deal and he balls out, you can end up trading him back to another, team possibly down the road and make those picks back maybe in then some, twofold. You could maybe trade him for like a 4th round, maybe a 3rd round pick, depending on how well he's playing. But yeah,
how old is he?
He's not that old. That's 25.
Yeah,
20, oh, he's 25?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Dirt cheap.
So he's 25. He's 25. He'll be 27 by the time, like, let's just assume at the end of a 2-year deal, he'll be 27.
Right in line for a contract.
Between 27 and like 30, like that's prime because that's that sweet zone, right? Where they've got the NFL experience, they've built up their technique, but they're young enough that their body can still heal.
Yeah.
right? It's like that's like the golden zone right there where, I mean, unless you're a guy like Von Miller or someone
Khalil
that's
Mack.
just like or Khalil Mack, for example, like unless you're in that kind of category.
Well, Von Miller was only doing it because he was juicing. I mean, is he not suspended right now for juicing or peds or something?
Well, no,
I thought it was like he assaulted his girlfriend
Yeah, I
or
thought
something.
that's what it was too.
They probably from a roid rage.
well, look, Von Miller has had many issues.
I'm just kidding. No, he was.
One of them is not doping, though. Like the dude has a questionable off the field. No, but he had a doctor that told him that he submitted something to the NFL one year and never did it. And it turned out that one of the drugs was like not approved. And he and DeMarcus Ware had we'll call it a lengthy chat. And that never happened again. And so the thing is that Von Miller was kind of a young guy that came from not a lot. He had a bend and he had speed and DZ, I agree. Von Miller was a unique talent. The thing that made Von Miller Von in terms of his ability was he had an unbelievable fast twitch as well as a bend that nobody else could match. Like he could duck low and maintain speed. And ultimately what happened with him is he was asked to do things that he really should never have been asked to do in terms of playing kind of the heavy role in terms of some of the run stopping kind of things. And he should have just been used as the speed rush guy and kind of the all around player. And he ended up with a couple ACL issues as a result of some of the misuse on particularly on my Denver Broncos, which I'm more than happy to own on behalf of my team. Although if you actually go back and watch some of my earliest content from Broncos Talk, you'll actually hear me being quite critical of my coaching staff for misusing Von Miller, which should come as no surprise to anybody because I'm the first person to basically slander my team like into oblivion.
I was so happy when you left the division.
I'm sure you were.
He's a terror.
I think we all were.
Right?
Right. And so I just think when you look at these guys that are like Khalil Mack, like I would even put Nick Bosa in that category, or even Joey Bosa in that category. The only difference is that they seem to get hurt even more than Von Miller does now. And they've been like that since they entered the league. But if you look at like the guys that are currently playing that we can kind of look from like, a reasonable sample size, like I would certainly put a guy like TJ Watt in that category. I would put a guy like Von Miller in that category. I would put a guy, Khalil Mack. Calais Campbell was just always that dude's a freak.
Huge.
Like Calais Campbell is like he is abnormal. Like in all facets. The dude is a giant.
Yeah.
And he's seemingly able to play football forever. No, he's seemingly able to play.
And he stays on the field too.
Yeah,
he's hurt.
Like 6'8", 330, dude. It's
6'8". I was in shock.
Dude, he is.
And Alex, he never gets hurt.
I know.
He's fast.
I think Joe would be shocked to line up against somebody that's as like looking at him eye to eye. Like, wait,
you're not looking eye to eye. You're looking up at him.
6'8", 307, and he was drafted in 2008.
Damn.
So
16 years and still going strong.
Still balling.
Pass rusher. Gotta give it up to him, man.
I actually think one of the things that makes Calais Campbell a little bit unique is he actually came from Denver. Like he grew up as a Denver native. And I actually wonder if that'd be a super interesting case study, actually, if we're going to be honest, because the thin air in Denver typically allows a lot of athletes to excel elsewhere because they go elsewhere and their muscles are able to just thrive because they're getting so much more oxygen into their muscles than they're used to. So they were able to be an elite level athlete with like almost like suboptimal conditions. Right?
It's true.
And then so then they go elsewhere and they're like, this is not a problem.
Yeah, they're like 3.5 quarters in. They're like, have we even started yet?
Yeah, like we're good, right?
Richie, it's absolutely amazing. I lived in Colorado Springs for a couple years, and the oxygen level is so thin. And then when I moved back to California, oh my God, it was like night and day. And that's why the U.S. Olympic teams train in Colorado to, expand those lungs, make it work harder. So when you go to a lower elevation, it is night and day.
Yeah.
And that gives your Broncos a big advantage anytime, you play, because other teams aren't used to that. But when you go outside of, Denver, go to Las Vegas, LA, KC, not having that elevation, that is a big boost.
I'm at even a worse disadvantage where I'm at here, because I live up in like the north part of Canada where it's like me and forests everywhere.
I thought you were gonna say you and like 4 other people.
Well, there's that too. But the thing is that I'm at a lower elevation and it's basically completely rich oxygen air because of all the trees and all the nature and all the wildlife. And so when I went to Denver, there's actually I walked to the stadium because I was like, I'm in great shape. Like, why would I drive? Like, this is stupid. And on the way to the stadium, you kind of go meandering up and around and kind of go up a hill. And it's a good like 2-3 miles or 5 miles from where I was.
Damn.
I did the conversion. Jeez. I did the conversion for you Americans just to help. About 10-ish. So anyways, I made it to the stadium, and by the time I got there, I was like, I feel like crap. Like I literally felt like crap. Like I was like
polluted American air is what it was.
No,
it's just thin.
It's super thin, and like my body was like, I was not used to that at all. And I was getting to the stadium, I was like, I was like, this is awful. Make it stop.
So I'm sure Richie and Alex, you guys probably have basements.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know Robert doesn't. We don't have basements in California, but I was at 7,200 feet, and you would just walk up the stairs, and you can feel the pressure just change. And you get up to the top stairs, like, damn, I need to take an extra breath. I mean, that's just the way it is. The way it is out there.
I've never been in like. Damn.
How many steps you got, dude? Jeez.
I've never been out to like Colorado or Denver area, so I don't really know what that elevation is like. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't think I've really been anywhere where the elevation is
different.
You can't simulate.
It is different. It is just straight different.
I'm like trying to imagine.
No, but like I've been to BC a few times. I've been to BC a few times, and you go up to the mountains up there, and you can start to feel like the thinness in the air and whatnot. But Denver is even a different beast in and of itself, just because the natural elevation is high.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even, ignore the mountains. Just the natural baseline elevation of the city itself is high. So it's a different beast in and of itself, just because of your baseline.
Look at Mile High Stadium. I mean, it's not on a mountain or anything. It's on flat land. And you go out there. First time I flew out there, I'm like, man, did I go to Kansas? I'm like, it's all prairie land, and like, you don't see a ton of mountains unless you're looking at the Rockies. But yeah, it's just straight up the elevation. It's bizarre. You'll get headaches. You'll get dehydrated easier out there.
You get dehydrated so fast. I was drinking liters of water. Sorry. I realize that's metric. Yeah, I realize that's metric. I'm sorry.
Right.
Gallons.
We only know 2 liters. That's it.
Sorry, gallons. But anyways, I did want to bring up one other thing, and then we'll move on to our other games as a quick recap.
Liter of cola is French. Forgive me.
No, we call it pop here, DZ. We don't call it cola. That's
he's quoting Super Troopers, man. Liter is French. Forgive me some cola.
That's funny. But actually, sorry. This is actually really funny.
Oh, you just saw that one?
That's really funny. No, the reason why it's funny is that there's actually areas where I live that the only way that they actually have internet is because of Starlink.
That's amazing.
Which is like I'm laughing because like it's not me.
True.
It's not me, but it's like
it's highly
actually,
applicable.
It's very applicable.
That's amazing.
So
Oh,
thankfully I happen to live in an area that's got fiber optic right to my house. Just over to my right here is a fiber cable that comes in. Woo woo. I can get 10 gig internet to my house and not have to blink an eye. But
it must be nice.
It is. I'm not even in California. And so, anyways, I did want to bring up one thing, Alex, and that is there was a controversial call that happened in that game with the Raiders, and that is the roughing the passer on Patrick Mahomes, which I'm sure the collective Raiders fans that are with us this evening, as well as those who are going to watch after the fact, will agree with me that I believe the Kansas City Chiefs need to remind both themselves and the refs that you play contact football. And there's the word contact that happens at the front of that particular phrase. And that just because your quarterback got bumped by another player, or maybe they farted in his general direction, I don't know which, that does not constitute a roughing the passer call, despite popular belief clearly amongst Kansas City ownership as well as the refs.
Yeah.
What say you?
Okay. I don't know why that it's
Really
like
put him in the corner there, Rich.
That getting called. I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. That I didn't think that was roughing the passer, but in today's game, I mean, we've seen calls like that happen before.
If your name is Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
That probably played a part of it too. And like I'm not gonna deny that definitely looked like Mahomes flopped a little bit, probably to get a call. A little
bit.
Hey, whatever. They were penalized more than the Raiders, so
well they did, but they also did more.
That. But at the same time, like if you're a defender, like you already know, like this has been an issue for 4+ years now of like you got to land softly on the quarterback if you're going to hit him, like maybe be a little more aware than to just run into the back of a QB, whether it's, I don't think that was to the level of a roughing the passer, but like, why put yourself in that situation? It's not like this is a new rule that just happened or anything like that. Do I agree that should have been called? Like, no, that's not the way that I played football. Like, it's happened,
right?
But like, it's a call that happened. Like, it is what it is. I would say the same thing if that was Chris Jones. I'd be like, dude, like you're a large man. If you even bump the quarterback and the ref sees a glimpse that looks like they're falling, they're going to throw the flag. Like, do I agree with that? No. Does it suck? Yeah, but like it is what it is in today's game.
Well, Jones could have pancaked you, Jack, and it wouldn't have been called.
Jack, I have a bit of an issue though with your team though.
And before you tell me what that is, I got two other points for that. So there were two non-calls. This is Patrick Mahomes running and when he's scrambling, he's going past the line of scrimmage by about a foot and then throwing that ball, and they would get a couple receptions, first downs off it. Those weren't called back. And I will say there was one play with Trey Tucker where he caught the ball. He did step out of bounds, and they didn't call that either. So I'm going to call it both ways and be honest about it.
I have an issue with the Raiders in the fact that if you're about to bump into the quarterback and you realize that you can't stop, Jack, your team needs to own it. Your team needs to just
put some flags on them or something.
Just lay into it.
From the league.
I did not know where you were.
If you're going to do it, I
knew where he was going the minute.
Entire body weight, turn his neck, poke his eyes.
I want to see this. I want to see the Steve Austin
Richie
spin around.
Is from the Greg Williams coaching tree.
Well, funny you should mention that, Alice, because man, were the Saints in some hot water this past weekend over some they pulled with Herbert. I guess that would be kind of.
That's more of the owning it. I think Richie was getting at.
Yeah, and I completely agree. But I guess I know I wasn't here last week.
No, you were
unfortunately-
not.
Yeah,
you were
no,
mentioned several times.
Yeah, because
Yes,
they
I
did
know.
lose.
Yes, they did lose. So I wanted to talk about that just a little bit.
They did
and
win out, like you said.
Yep, they did not pull away with the dub like I anticipated they would. So obviously, coming out straight and saying it, the biggest reason for that loss is what I've been saying all year that the Chargers cannot do, and that's turn the ball over. I mean, you did force one, but it was kind of negated because you then turned it right back over on the return, and it was Tier Tart, which he's a tackle. I mean, the dude is never supposed to. These guys are never supposed to get interceptions, but that's also why you should really just, as soon as you feel any little bit of pressure, just wrap up and fall down. Like, don't try to make anything crazy. Like, the turnover in and of itself is huge. I mean, that where he was when he lost the ball. I mean, we were probably already in field goal range, so that's at least 3 points off the board, but you don't know what happens. You could get in the end zone, but at least 3. And then Jalen Reagor, practice squad activation before the game. Great catch, and you got to complete it, dude. You got to complete the play. It's unfortunately, you look back at it, and it's a great catch, but it's not a great play because you undid it all in one fell swoop with fumbling it. And to just make matters worse, you fumbled it with the ball in your right hand towards the field of play. Put that ball in your left hand, make it go out of bounds. That's one of the first things they teach you as a receiver, as a ball carrier. Take that ball and put it towards the sideline, because the sideline is your best friend in that situation. And I mean, unfortunately, that was the game right there. That's 6 points, and those 6 points, I mean, if we get those, we have the game in our hands. They have to go down and score a touchdown on us in that final drive. I don't think they do, because, again, our defense has been playing lights out all season. We're still the only team in the league to have 20 points or less from every team we've played so far. We're number 1 in points allowed per game, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, in that game, the run game wasn't great, but Herbert balled out, so it didn't need to be. I mean, he threw for his season high 350 yards, essentially. Yeah. Yes, DZ. I'll get into that a little bit more when we get into the Saints game, but I'll stick with I'm gonna stick with the Cards game for now. So yeah, run game was obviously not great, but it didn't need to be. Herbert, was just airing it out, and he should have, against the worst pass, or one of the worst pass defenses in the league. The Cardinals have. So I wasn't really surprised by that. Yes, Rich?
Point of contention, I do want to make sure that it is known that I did call your loss to the Cardinals.
You did. You most certainly did, and I will give you credit for that. You did call it. I will give you props for that. I will say, though, if you would have told me that those were the 2 turnovers we would have had from our team in that game, I would have been like, well.
Oh, dude, that's a bridge too far for me. I simply just look at the general. No, like, look.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
I will give myself credit where credit's due, and I will critique myself where I believe I need critique, which is I simply look at the overall composition of the various teams. And I look at the types of players on each side and all that kind of stuff. The fact that I've called my Broncos over these last years to be a dumpster fire and been right, it's not like it's a point of pride for me. It's not like I'm saying, yes, this is fantastic. Yes, my team sucks. Like, no, this is not something that I'm looking forward to having to say aloud on, the airways of YouTube and live on the internet in infamy. But that doesn't change the fact that I've been right more than I've been wrong about my team. And I call other teams the same way since I've been doing this show with Alex and others, right? Which is like, I'm simply looking at the way that our teams are comprised and compromised and together. For example, I actually picked my Broncos to beat your Chargers against when we played you guys the first time. And you saw what I was comparing at the back end of that game, where we literally almost came back and tied the game. Like, it was like that close, right? Now, does that mean we won? No. Does that mean that I should say, oh, wow, look at this? No. But the point being is, when you look at how our teams compared, I was like, that's what I saw in my team is what you saw at the end of that game. And that's why I was predicting my team to win. It doesn't mean that we did. You guys clearly beat us, and good for you. But I saw that against the Cardinals. The Cardinals they had a few little things that were mixed in that I knew would probably not do well against your team just because of the matchups. And it turned out to be correct. Now,
yeah,
onto the Saints and everything with you guys, but it's one of those things I wanted to bring up because you weren't here last week for me to rub it in, and it was just really important for me to do that.
To berate you this week. And we didn't forget.
I was gonna mention it before that. The interior O line is definitely still a problem. And I'll get to praising Bozeman for what he did in the Saints game in a little bit, but the interior O line is 100% something that needs to be addressed. I mean, Jesus Christ, Alt and Slater have been dominating the tackle spots together. Yeah, I know, Slalt. Yeah. They've been absolutely dominating on the edges for Herbert, and it's just been simple little stump moves that seem to just absolutely blow away.
Robert, I think you should call them salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper.
Come on, that's great.
God. Salt and pepper. Come on, really? Come on. That makes me sound like one salty.
No, like salt and pepper. Like I think it's great. Or you could add an A to the end of pepper if you want to get all like,
oh my God,
modern.
We're throwing it back, huh?
Yeah.
Salt and pepper.
So yeah, it was a rough game for us. As I predicted going into that game, Kyler Murray on his legs. I mean, that killed us, and we saw it against the Broncos with some of those big rushes that Knicks took off on.
Pre-Call of Duty, Kyler Murray too.
Yeah, it was pre-COD Kyler. So although he did just walk down the Dolphins with Tua back, but I mean, not that,
Yeah.
They are leading that division for what it's worth, Alex, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But they are in first place in the NFC West right now. So yeah, it was a rough game. But one thing I've always said about this team, and especially this season, this team is completely predicated on time of possession and just wearing you down as the game goes on. So when you turn the ball over like they did against the Cardinals, you never give your team a chance to settle in and, get the run game never had a chance to get going because it was almost like, I know we weren't playing from behind the entire time, but I mean, oh, DZ. So yeah, it was a rough game. A lot of things went wrong, but I think we corrected a lot of them and looked a lot better against the Saints. Game, this game was a much better viewing experience for me. To start it off, Bradley Bozeman, I want to give you a round of applause, dude. You are welcome in LA anytime. For defending my quarterback like that. Any O lineman, I mean, the fact that he's just a kind of like a year rental and he's out there laying his body like that, showing. I mean, that play right there. So
tried to twist his.
Yeah, Herbert was
dirty play.
It was dirty as hell. Herbert got the ball out, took a snap, avoided a sack. I forgot what his name was, Mordreau or something like that. I forgot what the last name was.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, but anyways, so Herbert, gets wrapped up. This guy wraps him up with his legs, but he's not tackled or anything. He's not down, so he, dumps it off to Dobbins. And the play's done. Herbert's, kind of not doing anything, but this guy's still wrapping onto his leg, full on alligator rolling it. So Bozeman, sees that and just all of a sudden comes in and just full on shoves him out of the way, throws him to the ground, starts pinning on him, pulling. I saw one of the pictures where he had his face down on the ground and the helmet's almost coming off, and I was like, oh yeah, get some, Bozeman.
You like that?
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
That's the way you do it, man.
Yep, absolutely. And so just seeing that, I would expect that from Slater. All some of these guys that are longtime Chargers, and they're gonna be on this team forever, or I like to think, hopefully, until they retire. But Bozeman, somebody who's just a 1-year rental, somebody we just picked up last offseason. I mean, you just see him completely buying into this, hardball way, that physical toughness, showing these other teams that we're not just going to be walked down. We're not just going to be kicked over like before. So to see that, I mean, didn't want to see Herbert get injured.
The video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You sent the video. Didn't want to see Herbert get injured. so happy he didn't, but love seeing that aggressiveness, that defending your QB from Bozeman. But besides that, I mean, wasn't really worried about this game. I know I didn't come on last show to give a score, but I did predict a win for this going back to a couple weeks ago. Obviously with Carr not playing, that made it just a little bit easier. I don't think anybody's really scared of this Saints offense after week 2. It was a great 2 weeks. I hope Saints fans enjoyed it, but it's come to an end, unfortunately. Ladd McConkey finally having his breakout game, 6 receptions, 6 targets. So love to see that. 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and obviously the highlight reel play, 60-yard touchdown. First the Moss catch, and then the Yak ability after to just get some jukes, get himself into the end zone. That is exactly why we drafted him in the second round.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, that was a big welcome to the NFL moment. He's had a couple of other really good, like flashy highlight plays here and there throughout the first 7 weeks.
Touchdown against the Chiefs.
Yeah, he did catch us. Yep, he did. It was a very nice touchdown against the Chiefs.
Good ball, good touchdown.
Yep. So I love seeing that connection between Herbert and Ladd getting better and improving as we go.
Since you're talking wide receivers, Robert, I'm sorry to jump in.
Oh no, not at all.
Do you see the Chargers, trying to bring back Mike Williams?
Yeah, so I did actually have right here in my notes, right here down below. I want to see the Chargers make a push for a wide receiver, and I put in little quotations, if the price is right. If that is Mike Williams, I know a lot of Charger fans are saying, that doesn't really solve anything. Considering, I think our problems with our wide receivers right now is creating separation. But I think Mike Williams just provides such a dynamic option to just like pick up chunk yards here or there. It's almost like, I think, listen, I'm not going to say he's going to turn into the Mike Will of old where he's just going up, making 50-50 balls look like 80-20 to him. But I think just the leadership of already being with this team and getting drafted by this team and just coming into that locker room again. Obviously the familiarity and connection with Herbert. Like, I think there's just a lot of things that make sense to bring him back again if the price is right. Yeah, listen,
should be right.
At this point,
he's not doing anything with the Jets.
Yeah, I feel like we should definitely be able to get him for very dirt cheap, considering the Jets should be on a fire sale.
They can't.
The Jets won't be on a fire sale, but they will trade him now.
Point of no return, man. They can't be on a fire sale. They're either turning around or Rodgers goes down with the ship like the Titanic orchestra. He just plays his little ass into irrelevancy.
Oh man!
And Jets could lose every other game of the year except for I want them to have one more win. I want that higher draft.
I want him to have a win next week, so then he could say, "Yeah, I told you guys, relax." And they just get waxed the week after.
Oh man!
They just need to get Jordy Nelson. Like I said, if they get Jordy, it's a wrap.
Yeah, they get Jordy. Yeah, they already had Jordy.
So this is an interesting question, just because of the trade deadline coming up, and I think this is relevant to our teams. And then I'll get into the Broncos recap this past week as well. I need you to talk about the Saints game as well, Robert, for your team.
Yes. Yeah.
But to answer Willie's question real quick, at first I actually thought that we would see Courtland Sutton be traded. I think it is perhaps more likely now that he might be traded, just because while he is clearly kind of our wide receiver one, he's made a few mistakes with our team, and perhaps it may be a good thing for him to see a change of scenery, in my opinion, for what it's worth. I think he's a great guy. He seems like a team guy by all accounts, but it's possible that they may try to trade him for some capital as the team tries to rebuild with kind of more aggressive type guys, younger guys as well. Looking at a guy like Devon Vele as an example, he is certainly very similar to Courtland Sutton. He's younger, has had some great catches. And I also think the Broncos could well look at a tight end as a trade acquisition to try to balance out that room. Although we did see some better play calling with the tight ends this past week against the Panthers. It'll be interesting to see if that can translate against better opponents, but that's something I want to bring up against the game with the Ravens. With regards to Sutton, I think it's possible. I think the Broncos could be looking at trade at capital to try to rebuild the team even more so. Although I do think that if we are going to trade Sutton, I think it would be with an intent and purpose. So I think that it'll be unlikely that gets traded, but I think that it would be, we get a center, for example, that is leaps and bounds better than what we have as a straight trade. Or
okay, I can see that. I can't see draft picks though.
Or
you're in second place.
Right, we are, but again, like if you get offered a second round pick for Courtland Sutton,
you're not going to get a second round pick.
I know, but I trust me, I'm not naive or stupid enough to think that we're going to. But I'm saying if you get offered a second round pick to get him, you're saying, well, then that's a different story. And then you kind of, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of the whole point, right?
Would you take a third?
True. Yeah, apparently they were offered a third and turned it down.
And they said no.
Right, because a third is a third round draft pick. My point is I think the Broncos are looking at him saying, if we get offered a second, like a first is like a second is like the highest you're going to get for him. So just like don't even bother going to a first round. That's just stupid.
Oh yeah, no.
So
but, I mean, if you get a second round pick, wasn't he a second round pick? So it's like 5 plus years later, you get the return back. Like
that'd be
right.
good.
That's what I'm saying. So I could see that happening where we would like maybe say pull the trigger on the second round pick.
In that Chiba.
Oh, DZ.
No, I actually agree with Big E's comment in terms of I assume he likely agrees. Well, they might be actually. It's legal in Colorado.
It is.
But my point is I agree with what you guys have all collectively said with regards to Courtland Sutton, which is you either get made an offer that you can't refuse and you simply say yes because it's so much capital that you can do better as a team long term, and you believe that you have other guys that can fill that role through committee, as an example. I think that the Broncos would likely only trade Sutton with a specific target, like where they would use Sutton as the trade capital instead of a draft pick in order to then obtain like a center, for example, because we've struggled with the offensive center position this year. They have not been great. Like they've been okay, but they've not been great. And so I would say that would be kind of something that we may move forward with. But in terms of like a straight trade for like a third round or a fourth round draft pick, like we've seen some of these other guys go for, the Broncos no, we're in second place. And frankly, a few games going our way and a couple games going in the Chiefs' opposite direction. I mean, that changes the whole landscape of the AFC West division. And on top of that, we've had pretty good success in the last few games. So unless we're shown otherwise, as a team, we believe that we are incredibly competitive and frankly, correctly so, right? Given the success we've seen and how it's taken a while, but yes, we have in fact seen Bo Nix start to make some of those progressions that I was claiming was going to take him a little longer than I thought. He's outpaced what I thought he was going to do, but it doesn't change the fact that he's still taken some time to get to where he is now. And I think that's a fair statement to make. He's a rookie. The quarterback is one of the hardest positions in all of sports. It just is what it is. But anyways, in terms of looking ahead at your Saints game, Robert, give us a quick little synopsis, and I'll give you a quick little one of mine on the Panthers, and we'll move on to Week 9.
Absolutely. So yeah, the Saints game went about as expected. I don't know if I was expecting this big blowout, but I guess when you have Spencer Rattler or I don't even know who the other guy was, Hayner or whoever they brought in. Yeah, Jake
Haney.
Hayner. Yeah, I
Hayner.
don't know what they were doing at quarterback. So, I mean, it was a pretty easy game, all things considered. D-line played great, 5 sacks for them. Gave up 117 rushing, which is about what our average is for the year. I think we average about 112 given up per game. So nothing surprising there. I think the biggest takeaways from this game was interior O-line needs some serious help. And we even saw that on damn punt return, or sorry, the muff punt that resulted in a safety. I mean, they're just right up the middle, blew up the blocking attempt, and was able to block that punt. Thankfully, Scott was able to get it out in the end zone for not a touchdown, but a safety nonetheless. This defense is going to be the reason we win games. Herbert and this defense, if they can play like this consistently, the Chargers are going to look really good for these next couple of games. I mean, that was about as good of a both sides of the ball coexisting as well as you could have hoped. Herbert went 20 for 32, 279, 2 touchdowns, had a 111 QBR, or quarterback rating. He had a 95 QBR, which was the highest of the week, 95.3. Herbert's just been absolutely electric, no pun intended, over these last 3 weeks. I mean, he's second in the league in touchdown interception ratio. Him and Josh Allen are the only 2 quarterbacks that have only thrown 1 interception each, are tied for the lowest. I mean,
Isn't that incredible, though?
That I know. For Josh, I think that's more surprising than anything that Josh Allen leads the league in touchdowns.
Right. I was listening to what you're saying, and I was like, yeah. I was like, wait, Josh Allen? Sorry, what?
And I mean, his is 14-1. Herbert's only 8-1, but obviously, Allen is basically that entire team. So if he doesn't do good, they don't do good. Herbert now kind of has a little bit more leeway with that defense.
And also that offensive line in the way of your tackles. I mean, you're getting that extra second. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're keeping the elite pass rushers off them to give them that extra time. Even though the wide receivers are, Ladd played amazing. But, not having Keenan Allen, and you had the Mike Williams all at the same time. But look what he's doing now when you got an offensive line with lesser of a wide receiving core. It's amazing.
Well, Ladd McConkey actually has more receiving yards and I think receptions and touchdowns than Keenan Allen and Mike Williams this season combined. So
that's crazy.
Which is, I mean, and again, this is like the thing I say about we go from Tom Telesco, no offense, Jack, to someone that, Joe Ortiz, someone who knows how to run a team and build talent and recognize when it's time to let go of players. So many Charger fans gave Ortiz shit this season and Harbaugh for not re-signing one of Mike Will or Keenan Allen, for letting them both walk and not drafting a wide receiver with our first round pick. But I mean, looking at it now, it's like, now you wouldn't change that for the world. Now you even have a chance to bring back one of those guys that you lost on a super cheap deal.
You might be able to bring them both back at some point.
I don't think the Bears.
I mean, literally, did you see Keenan Allen's face when the Commanders beat the Bears on that Hail Mary? He had a smile on his face, and I even read an article. He's still a Charger.
Yeah, well, no, the reason why he's laughing is because he knows what it's like to be on the receiving end of those, like,
he's like, damn,
how
I
did
can't get away from this.
Exactly. So I honestly feel for Keenan, man. It's sad to see. I really thought he was going to be utilized a lot more in Chicago. Someone as talented as him. I mean, he still can, but coming off a career year, that's just it's really heartbreaking. I thought he was
pretty good though.
It feels amazing. I mean, personally, like, just as a fan of his, I feel for him because that was my guy. Like, he got drafted in 2013. I pretty much watched him like for the entirety of his career. Like, he was the dude, and I mean, he was my first jersey that I ever had, number 13. So I mean, he'll always have,
Chemistry matters.
Yo, yeah, 100%, 100%.
Chemistry matters, and it's
kind of funny. to take it one
Sir
step
Jack,
further with Devontae Adams, going, hey, I don't want to be on the Raiders. I want to go to the Jets.
Yeah.
And they got the chemistry right. What has he done?
Yeah.
Bye, dude. I hope you enjoyed your, wanting to leave.
Well, I think with Keenan Allen, I think the problem is that he and Herbert had an established connection. And so Allen knew that if he did X, Y, and Z in certain scenarios, that Herbert would always look for him. And he would often get the secondary, tertiary, and or the dump passes that other guys would often get. Problem is, he's not moving to another team just to get the bag, fine. But what's it good for?
Yeah.
Like, what's it good for? Like, if you're not getting catches or stats, everyone's going to look at you different, and they're not going to look at you in the same kind of upper tier, or at least in that same high regard that you had with Chargers fans. And because you're starting from fresh, so you got to basically remember back to your rookie year and say, I got to do the same thing over again. I'm going to go over to Alex and his guy in Tyreek Hill. He's really one of the few guys that has traversed teams and has basically gone over to the Dolphins, and no one's looking at him as saying you're the problem.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not the problem. Like, he is definitely not the problem. And so he's one of the few guys that has actually been able to kind of chase the bag or chase the money and not be looked at as being like, past his prime or not good enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad to see, but again, like I'm very, very thrilled that we made the decisions that we did at the times that we did. Obviously, a lot of people were doubting it. A lot of Charger fans were really questioning this regime early on and the moves they were making. So to see some of those Charger fans eat their own words and to see the direction of this team, it looks like it's trending in a very positive direction, is very good to see. Herbert, man, I mean, that ankle injury looks fine to me, and it's honestly crazy because high ankle sprains are no joke, and the fact that he's already moving this well after suffering that, I mean, I'm honestly thrilled, man. I just gotta hope that he stays healthy. This O-line, I really want to see us make a move for either Njoku or another wide receiver. I'm not sure really who's out there, who's available, but I think I'd much prefer Njoku, a tight end, because right now I think Will Dissly is our receiving, our tight end receptions and receiving yards leader, which is insane to me, because we brought him over to be a blocker, and he's actually like been a significant part of the offense the last couple of weeks. So yeah, we definitely we definitely need to address that and definitely make some moves. I'm really hoping Ortiz makes some moves before this trade deadline, and before next week's game against the Browns, which I'm a lot more nervous for, given the fact that it's not going to be Deshaun Watson. It's actually going to be Jameis Winston, and he actually can play some football.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that Njoku's really going to be for sale anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically, we may be the game that decides if Njoku's for sale or not, because they're 2-6 right now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, if we put them at 2-7,
they're 2-6. Yeah,
they're 2. Yeah, if we put them at 2-7, I think that might be 5 games under 500, and in that division, I don't think you're coming back from that. So we'll see. Willie, should you start McConkey over Pollard on my fantasy team? Yes.
That's a question for Richie.
I'm gonna say yes. You should.
That's a question for the Lightning Fast Fantasy Show after this show with me. But yeah, I probably would do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck and Hursterback play Pollard. I don't know. I think I'd still go with McConkey. I think that connection he has with Herbert is not going to get overruled by Chark coming back and fresh off the IR. So yeah,
Denzel Ward's pretty good.
He is pretty good. I will give him that. He is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not me. I'm not number one. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
just to make sure we kind of get everything in here, guys, I'm going to quickly review the Panthers game against my Broncos. We saw a little
cat on cat fight.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of what I expected, actually, which was Bo Nix looked really comfortable. He looked like he had calmed down. He was reading the field better. Now, I am coming into this next game against the Ravens with some cautious optimism. And the reason I'm looking at that from a cautiously optimistic perspective, which is the Panthers' defensive line is not great. It's not like they, are world beaters and they're doing well and all that kind of stuff. So really what he was able to do was assess the field and do some great things. Great, fantastic. But at the end of the day, we only won by a couple scores. I expected it to be a little bit of a wider margin than that in terms of based on the way that our team played. I expected better, I expected more, and I expected less mistakes to happen. Like we saw a bumbled catch or two to start the game. We ended up with a bumbled catch to go back for 7 points on the board against us. Like, what is our defense doing, allowing a subpar team or even our offense allowing a subpar team to take it back? It makes no sense. And so I expect more, and we're going to have to play better if we're going to beat a team like the Ravens, if we're going to beat a team like the Chiefs, who are where they're at, right? Like, both teams are playing fairly well. The Ravens have obviously had a few slip-ups in the last few weeks, so maybe that's trending in the right direction for us to be able to beat them. But the Chiefs are, still being the Chiefs.
Undefeated.
And we're going to have –
you can go ahead and say it.
No, I really don't.
No.
I really don't, actually, at all. And the Chiefs are the last team standing, if you will, right, in this particular season. And so we need to be mindful of that as an AFC West division, which is, all of the Broncos have lost to the Chiefs at this point. And the Broncos now need to go and play the Chiefs next week, not this week coming, but the week after. And the Broncos need to see if Bo Nix can continue that progression. If someone else can't get to it before me, I do want to bring up one other kind of quick piece as we were kind of talking about it, and that was Big E's comment about my kind of like predictions of my team and stuff. Here.
Robert will like this.
So you're effectively aligning with Robert, which is fine. And I've already come out and said 2 weeks ago that Bo Nix is progressing faster than I thought he was going to. And that's good, obviously, for our Denver Broncos, because Big E and I are both Broncos fans. It still doesn't change. It still doesn't change I have no idea, Alex. It's just I winged it. It was a total guess, and
when you know, I get it.
Yeah, when you know, right? But obviously, as both Broncos fans, like, I don't care how the team does. I just want the team to succeed. But I still am not convinced that Bo wouldn't be where he's at if he was delayed. And I'm going to adjust where I was at the beginning of the season, because I think Bo Nix has progressed faster than I thought he was going to. But I think we could have won the first game or two of the season with one of the other quarterbacks on our roster playing, especially considering we didn't lose by 3 scores or something stupid. And also, some of those games that we did lose in the early stage of the season to get us to our current record were actually caused by stagnation on the offense. And I believe that Wilson or Stidham could have likely progressed us at a faster pace. Now, could that have been at the potential detriment of Bo Nix? I suppose it's possible, because he's certainly progressed faster than I would have expected him to. And is that going to be better for Bo Nix long term? Maybe, but we don't know. because there is the Josh Allen second-year jump that we saw from him, where he kind of started off mediocre and then literally became, the quarterback that we now know.
Josh Allen, yeah.
Yeah, like the Josh Allen. But there's also plenty of quarterbacks that have had a first year, oh my gosh, I can't believe the thing. Like, I would argue Kyler Murray is kind of in that general.
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud is not the same guy that he was in his rookie year. Like, he's certainly not the world beater that we expected him to potentially be.
Both his starting wide receivers are out, so
yeah, that's a tough one.
That's fine. And that's fine, but the really good quarterbacks, like the ones that are true difference makers, take the extra time to go down the depth of the roster so that they don't put themselves in those situations. And I look at Tom Brady and I look at Peyton Manning and I look at even like a Ben Roethlisberger, for example. Like,
Mahomes.
You can say Mahomes, although he's kind of had some issues with some of the interceptions and stuff the last little bit.
He won a Super Bowl when his receivers led the league and dropped passes. How much more do you have to elevate trash?
Well,
there's nothing else that can be obtained.
Mahomes is Mahomes,
actually, that's where I disagree. I actually think that your run game played a huge role in that year for you guys when that happened. But your quarterback is
just fine comb it through all of this.
And we can't say Tom Brady is rookie year because he was a 6th-round draft pick and you had Bledsoe.
You can say that with a lot of the guys. Peyton Manning, he won because the Broncos had a good defense.
I got a question for you, Richie. So, do you think if you would have done what you said in the beginning of the year and start either one of those, Wilson or Stidham, would you have that record that you have now?
I actually believe that we could have ended up with a slightly better record.
No, you shut the hell up. Richie, my guy, there's no way you actually believe that. No way.
I do. I do. And the reason why I believe that is because, especially in the first couple games, remember, we didn't start very well.
We know that. That's
and
the
I think
point.
We would have. But you have a rookie quarterback who stagnated the offense. But he was missing.
He's getting better and better each week, which is what you wanted, which is why you start him week 1, because you project him to get better.
No. You were missing. You're missing the question. If you're gonna say okay, here. So let's look 2 years out.
Okay.
If Bo Nix takes the trajectory that he's currently taking and is able to overcome a potential slump in year 2 and continue progressing upward like Josh Allen, I will happily admit that I'm wrong. Because a couple games at the beginning of the 2024 season of not doing well worth the pain, if you will, of losing a couple games that are ultimately meaningless in the long-term scheme of things, right? I'm not an idiot in that regard. I'm an idiot in other regards, but not.
You could also argue now, though.
Bo Nix is already those other guys. Those guys' ceiling is already. Bo Nix is already past it.
Oh, I can say you could argue too. The mistakes that Nix made in the first couple games are the very reason he's not making those mistakes now.
Well, he's still making some of them.
But not all of them.
He's still a rookie.
Robert made a good point. Getting better every week, and I agree with that.
I mean, you got to take risks and shots to know what you get away with.
But because this is really what my point here is, which is we had a couple game stretch here where Bo Nix played what I would argue are easier opponents. The Saints have been a dumpster fire this year, and the Panthers, they're beyond a dumpster fire. I don't even know what's past that, but whatever that is, that's what they are.
You're not wrong.
Like the dump is on fire, right?
Trash.
That's the Panthers, right?
Yeah. They're just buried over trash at the landfill.
Yeah.
Hey, why are you skipping all of Big E's comments?
I was gonna wait. I was gonna get through.
Right.
Big ego it
and
is,
like,
man.
I suppose, like a typical American, you're repeating yourself twice in hopes that you're right. But anyways, like
You did it
I
3
don't care
times,
what it is.
actually.
Oh, great, fantastic. But
That's the American way, dude. Plus
yeah, the
size.
American way. Say it enough times and hope you browbeat someone into agreeing with you.
That's
I
an
guess,
extra
right?
large meal deal on the comment.
Yeah. But my point is, guys, is that when you look at where Bo Nix is now, in the scheme of things, if he continues
Yeah, I love the Bo
this,
Jackson.
Absolutely.
if he continues this trajectory that you're seeing right now, and it continues past this year, I have no problem admitting I was wrong with sitting him. However, like at all, because in the scheme of things, you want the long haul trajectory of the positivity of your team. Like, it's just that simple. Like, I don't care if we lost 3 games at the beginning of the year because Bo Nix was learning, if it means for the next 10 years that the dude's a franchise quarterback and loses 10 games like clockwork. I couldn't care less. But my concern, and I still believe it's a valid one until I'm proven wrong, which I'm happy to admit if I am proven wrong, is in the early stage of your career, as you're trying to learn the nuances of the game, what you don't want is those mistakes to hinder your long-term success, not short-term success against 2 weaker teams, your long-term success. And what I want to see in this game and the next game in particular, because a division rival game, that's no joke, right? The Chiefs are the Mount Rushmore of both the NFL and our division, right?
Oh,
like, they just
absolutely.
are.
Yeah.
And so the kicker here with Bo Nix is the Ravens have a pretty darn good defense and a very competent offense.
Defense is. I actually think you guys might perform pretty
Yeah,
well
the
against that
defense is
defense.
down.
Well, Ravens play down to their opponent is what they do.
Right, and that may be their downfall this season, but generally speaking, the Ravens just overall, like generally
As a franchise,
as a franchise,
I'll
like,
give you that.
Like, they are like
A defensive-minded
like,
franchise.
They're
like the
that
Bears.
team, right? Yeah, the Bears haven't been that way for a while now, but the Ravens, the Ravens have traditionally been that way. And
the Bears
but
still had some good defenses even after.
the
I mean,
Chiefs,
not like
though.
well,
The Chiefs, though, like the rest of our division, have a top tier defense in the 2024 NFL. They just do.
Yeah.
The Broncos do as well, and so do the Chargers.
So
and
I'm going to put it this way, Richie.
The Raiders do as well.
And I'm going to put it this way: the Raiders could have won this game against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs defense on 2 first and goals, first downs, stopped them. If you had one of your other quarterbacks in there right now, I don't see a chance. I think with Bo Nix, you do have a chance to actually beat the Chiefs. I'm just going to put it that way for your quarterbacks.
That wasn't the question, though.
I know. No, I'm not saying it wasn't meant to be a question. It was meant to be a statement.
We got to stop moving the goalposts when we're talking about comments. And I'm answering the question that was presented by Robert. The question from Robert was very clear. Do I believe that my record would be where it's at today if Bo Nix hadn't started for the first
That was my question,
games?
actually.
Oh, so your question. Whatever. I don't care who it was. Either way, my answer
together.
My answer is the same. I think that Bo Nix struggled the first few games and stagnated the offense. Now, I also believe that Bo Nix is an intelligent enough person, because I believe he is. He is definitely that. And he is a gifted enough quarterback. Exactly, DZ. Where I believe that he is competent enough to learn both on field and off field. So I believe that he actually looks at the plays and is working through proper exercises as they do in the NFL, that he could have perhaps not progressed quite as quickly as he had on the field thus far. But I do believe that he would have avoided many of the early mistakes that he made in his career, and he would have started from a higher floor than what he started off to begin the season. Now, we will never know whether or not I'm correct or not, because the Broncos didn't start off the season the way that I would have preferred. does that floor then mean that he springboards rather to where he's at today after those past few games? We saw him properly read through his progressions against the Panthers. And there's several plays that I can point to where he actually did 1, 2, 3, number 4. Like you could see him actually going through the progressions on the field. That was awesome to see because we did not see that in the first few games of the season.
Absolutely.
So
Carlos, we don't need a tank. We're not that good of a team. We can play hard and still lose.
Okay, but Rich, realistically, he's getting.
Robert, you're not going to get anywhere.
I know. No, listen.
We do this every week.
just give I'm genuinely shocked that you think if you have Stidham or Zach Wilson, you would have a better what games that you lost, you have them winning. I don't have them beating the Steelers. I don't have them beating the Seahawks, and I don't have them beating the Chargers.
I think in the first couple games, I actually think we could have beaten the Steelers. I think they were a beatable team at the time when we played them. I think we made some
Fields. Okay.
I think we made some really, really bad offensive plays because you got to remember
defense.
I don't care if they're a good defense. When you have a more veteran-minded quarterback, they are able to make adjustments against better defenses to not make the same mistakes that Bo Nix made. Also, look at the number of interceptions he threw against those teams. Not only did he throw interceptions, but he also stagnated the offensive drives, which hinders your defense when they're playing against teams like that. I'm trying to drive this point home. I am not saying that Bo Nix isn't he's exceeding my expectations in terms of his progression. Right. So he's certainly pushed back and proven incorrect my initial narrative that I thought he needed more time than he did. Cool. Trust me, not complaining about that. You want your rookie quarterback to be in that position.
Absolutely.
However, the question was not whether or not I believe he's further ahead than where I thought he was going to be. If that was your question, my answer is yes. Right? I'm not even adding a caveat to that. The answer is yes. Right. But the question was if I thought that we could have won a couple of those games in the early season of the season we lost.
It had
you know what? If I honestly, if you think you would have beaten the Steelers, I'm not going to be able to change your mind about that. I think the Steelers have a really good defense. I think that
you're going to change his mind.
No, I mean, I honestly, I was shocked. The Steelers game was the one he picked of the ones he thought he could have won. If he would have went with the Seahawks, I would have been like, okay, maybe because it's week 1 and there's really.
This chat is on fire tonight.
Yes, he is. Fire. I actually think that the Seahawks was certainly a game we could have won as well. I think the Steelers game would have been more competitive.
Okay, more competitive. I mean, you only lost by 7.
Now we're moving goalposts here.
Yeah, I
actually think we could have won both, but the point is that we came back and kind of made the game closer. We're not going to win out the season or be on the same page as the Chiefs or anything like that. But again, my point remains the same, which is I believe Bo Nix is a smart enough player that he would have adjusted after seeing the mistakes that were made on the field by the other quarterbacks and applied that to his game. I still think that for the first 2 games of the season, and maybe we pull a switch earlier because Bo Nix was chomping at the bit and showing to be that much better on the practice sidelines and stuff, and I would have been fine with that. But I think for the first couple games, I'm not sure. I saw Bo Nix making some similar mistakes repeatedly in those first 3 games of the season, and that's why I was concerned and why I was making all the comments I was making. Now, on the flip side, we saw 2 subpar teams in the Saints and the Panthers, and Bo was doing the exact opposite that I was seeing him do in the first couple games, where he was starting to move through those progressions on the field. And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that, is my point. But I think overall that Bo is a smart enough dude that he could have learned without making the mistakes on the field. and would have been either like maybe not exactly where he is right now, but certainly damn close. And that would have been good enough for me moving forward into the year. Now, the Ravens, this is the true test for Bo Nix.
Yeah, these
right?
next 2 weeks.
These next two weeks.
Sure.
Like this will either prove or disprove my comment here, which is like we had two easier teams that were not necessarily like ultra competitive. So now the question is, can Bo hold composure and recognize can he rise up to pressure, or is he going to crumble? Because the Ravens is going to be a true test. They have a proper defense. They have a team that is designed to compete against an AFC West opponent because they are designed for grit. Like, Robert, I'm not saying that they're like this world beater of a team.
No,
what I am saying is that their defense are designed to be gritty and tough. And the AFC West, the AFC West is a little bit more finesse, a little less grit and a little bit more finesse. Now we're starting to see a change with Peyton and Harbaugh, in terms of two coaches in our division. Frankly, I'd argue Alex's Chiefs are showing a little bit more grit this year as well.
Yeah,
The point though is that our division is typically a little bit more finesse and a little less grit, and we're starting to see that shift a little bit, but we're not all the way there yet.
Wait, Richie, too. I feel like, what we talked about in the beginning with the AFC North, what you mentioned, grit. I totally agree with you. But I'm starting to see that they're not as gritty as what we thought they were in the beginning of the year. I think our team, I think the AFC West is, you look at all of our defenses.
Yeah.
All of our defenses are gritty.
Good. Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to say my offense is gritty. I'm going to say it's crumbling. But
it's a gritty.
The AFC North,
it's gritty.
I expected a lot more from them too, and they're not showing out like we expected.
Yeah, I think three of our defenses are top 10 in scoring defenses. Us, Chiefs, and the Broncos. So yeah, Rich, I completely agree with that. I think it was almost kind of like the Chiefs kind of did it, and then it was almost like all three of us sort of like followed suit sort of right after. The Broncos defense has always been pretty good with Surtain, and they were definitely the ones to follow after. Obviously
Fangio had a top 5 defense as well.
Yeah.
He was never given credit for it because the rest of the team's record was crap, right? Like it's like I think so many, like Alex remembers the Broncos defense because the Chiefs played the Broncos and the Broncos held them to like single-digit scores when Fangio was here.
Yeah.
Right, but the Broncos still lost, so it was irrelevant.
Well, they had Case Keenum and
Teddy
Bridgewater
but
and others.
the thing that the Broncos were never given credit for, like truthfully, like at all, was in the Fangio era when he was here as our head coach. Our defense was top 5. They just were. They were that darn good. They were very, very good. But the problem is our offense sucked. Like, and I mean like beyond, like they were just dumpster fire.
Like the Raiders this year.
Yeah, they were dumpster fire.
I'm going to dump on my own team because that's the way the offense is playing.
Yeah.
Hey, DZ, we had a pretty good resurgence yesterday. 5 sacks was pretty damn good. So hopefully
the Saints.
It is the Saints, but still 5 sacks,
Yeah. So I just want to quickly go into the Ravens since we were already kind of touching on it, and then I'll throw it to you guys to talk about your games. I was on another podcast with the Denver Broncos just yesterday. We were having a volley back and forth in terms of what we saw. I believe that this team here is probably, we have a really good chance at beating this Ravens team. I think that our defense stacks up well against the Ravens. I believe that if Bo Nix can continue his progression, which is what we want to see from the Denver Broncos, I think that we can actually do the right thing and we can actually beat the Ravens by rising to the occasion rather than cowering to the level of pressure. A lot of teams, like this is really I'm trying to find the right words to use here.
It's a test.
This is the pressure test. And
The litmus test.
And good teams, good teams push back against the pressure and rise above it. Mm-hmm. And the teams that are not quite there crumble under the weight of the pressure that's put on their shoulders against good teams. It is no one's hiding the fact that these next 4 games for my Denver Broncos are the make or break for our season. It's just a fact.
You got
we have
Ravens, Chiefs, bye week, and then Colts.
Yeah, I believe so. And the Colts are no slouch. Like they can shock you.
They just went to Joe Flacco.
Joey Flacco, dude, he's ready for some magic.
Anything's possible with Joey.
Yeah, and so you got but I think the true test here is going to be you have the Ravens and the Chiefs, right? The Ravens are likely not wanting their season to slip away by losing a couple of games in a row like that. So they're going to be coming out wanting to win. Harbaugh as a coach is the real deal. I'm sorry, that is just a fact. And I mean both Harbaughs, both Jim and John. Like they are the real deal in terms of NFL caliber coaches.
Yeah.
Call a duck. Thanks, we're done. Mm-hmm. And so, that's just a fact. And so, and frankly, so is Sean Payton. Sean Payton is the real deal NFL coach. He is that damn good. He's got his team humming.
He has the pedigree.
With a bunch of milk carton guys. Well, no, but I mean, Sean Payton has a bunch of milk carton guys on defense and is like a top 5 defense in the NFL in almost all statistical categories. And so I think that says a lot about Vance Joseph and how Sean Payton chooses to build his team with youth and a certain mindset. And I think it's the mindset that matters the most, which is other people call it mindset. Some people call it culture. I don't really care which way you want to angle it at, but ultimately it is accountability and pushing guys to buy into the system. Andy Reid is another guy that I would argue is that culture system guy. I mean, Andy Reid comes to the Chiefs and a year or two
everything around
and it's like, boom, right? Like, boom, done. And he is that guy. And I think Sean Payton is that guy too. And you can always tell a guy is that guy when players want to come back to play with him after leaving, or after leaving still speak very highly of the coach, even after leaving, because a lot of players will slander bad coaches, but really good coaches, even when players leave, they're like, I don't want you're looking for me. That dude was awesome. and Andy Reid is certainly got that pedigree. Sean Payton clearly has that pedigree, as well as a few others as well. So this game here is a really tough one for me. But I do believe my Denver Broncos will beat the Ravens this week. And I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be something to the effect of like 21-13 or 21-17, something in that general range. I think it'll be a slugfest. I think it's going to be a challenge for Bo Nix because I think he's played 2 teams that are lesser than when it comes to defensive pedigree, and the type of team that he's going up against is not like what he's used to the last couple weeks. I think it'll take some adjustment.
So I have a question. It's like 21-13, but they're both good teams. Your team and Baltimore. Who do you have winning?
Oh, I have the Broncos winning this game.
Okay.
The game upcoming against the Chiefs is a different story. I actually believe that.
Here we go again. Let's pull it back out.
Yeah. Rewind.
Dude, Kevin's the funniest guy on.
I would like to give. I said this earlier in the show. I was very clear.
I shouldn't have put it up.
No, but I said
Kevin must have jumped off and went to a different Raiders show, dude. I always see Kevin all the shows.
Oh, he's been here.
But
I know, but
he's been here the whole show. But I actually think that Bo Nix has progressed faster than I thought he was going to. But I saw him make the same mistakes in 2 to 3 games in a row. And it's getting very frustrating for me when he wasn't going through his progressions and reading the field. Like, all of these Broncos fans are blaming Sean Payton for his offense and the play calls and all the other crap. But if you actually watch the all 22 film, Bo Nix was missing wide receivers. He was missing the anticipatory throws. He was missing all, like, there's like 5 or 6 different stacked things that Bo Nix was not doing that he should have done. For example, he caught an audible at the line of scrimmage to Troy Franklin, and Troy Franklin was struggling. Sean Payton didn't want him to do the thing because he wanted to use a similar play later in the game, and Bo Nix did it early. Franklin missed the touchdown throw. I think that was against your Chargers, if I'm not mistaken, Robert. And so, like, I'm sorry, like, these are just facts. Like, these are not like, this is not like my opinion of a thing. All you need to do is look at the all 22 film and actually honestly assess it. And I don't care if you're a Broncos fan or any other fan of any other team. Facts are facts. They're undeniable. Call a duck a duck.
All right.
Boom. Boom.
So moving on to
let's put a nice little bow on that.
Yeah. So moving on to the Chiefs game, and curious to see what you think is going to come of your week coming up there, Alex.
Yeah, and this one's it's an interesting matchup in its own right. Similar to the way you kind of talked about the Broncos Ravens one. Chiefs got banged up Buccaneers squad on Monday Night Football in Arrowhead. So
Shocker, another primetime game.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you do good. Or you're the Jets. One of those two. But it's an interesting one. Because obviously Bucs are banged up, but they have a pretty efficient rushing attack. And they went on the road against Atlanta and gotten an offensive shootout, with that same banged up wide receiver unit. Mayfield's been playing pretty solid this year. So we'll see. I mean, I say it's tough because it's like, the Chiefs defense is obviously elite. We've seen, thinking back to the Broncos Bucs game, we've seen how this Bucs offense has looked against, more elite type defenses. So it's like, I don't know how this offense is going to totally look. I would like to think that the Chiefs, I think they're like 8.5 point favorites. But I don't think, they haven't won a game more than double digit points. So, I do think it'll be a close game. It's just a matter of, how much does the Chiefs offense score to kind of push the point total going a little higher than, like a 17-10 or something. But I do see them. I see the Chiefs winning. I think we see a little bit continued uptick in offense, and more specifically in more pushing the ball downfield approach, type plays with D-Hop getting more integrated. Don't know if there's really been any sort of comment yet on whether Uche will, work into the fold or not. I assume he would. He was a healthy scratch last game, so I imagine, they plan to rotate him in. So excited to see, that pressure component.
Alex, isn't that kind of an Andy Reid thing, though?
What?
Like, in terms of, they sign a guy, they sit him a week, and then they play him.
Well, no, because they did. D-Hop played immediately, this last week. So I don't know if it's really but at the same, it's not like they played him play. I think they threw. I think he had 2-3 targets. It's more like a decoy. It's a little bit different on defense, obviously.
But he is a legitimate veteran, though. Like, he is not. He's not your. He's not like.
And I think he had
20-something.
He's had like 3 or 4 sacks already this year. So he's been effective at times. So we'll see. But ultimately I think KC wins. I think the defense probably see a turnover on both sides. I think And I think at some point Baker will probably try to do a little too much to, with this depleted receiving core to keep the game pace going to create a turnover. I mean, at this rate, Mahomes is for sure going to throw a turnover because he's done it every week. Knock on wood for that. But yeah, I think I'll say 28-20 is my prediction of the score. But I think the Chiefs obviously win.
So we've obviously had some discussions in the private chats here in terms of our score predictions, just making sure we kind of lock them in without any interference from the public chat here. I will announce mine. I will say that as a collective panel, we are unanimous actually in our predictions, which is the Chiefs will continue to be undefeated this season until they hit my Denver Broncos, which I predict they will continue being undefeated after facing my Denver Broncos.
Got it.
So I'm that was not me knocking Alex's Chiefs at all.
That's how last year went, kinda.
Yeah. And so it did, you're right. But I actually think the Broncos beat the Chiefs the second game, not the first game, because I think Bo Nix needs the time to learn, and I think that's kind of just the way he works. So
second game is in Denver, right?
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Second game is in Denver, right?
Correct. I think the home field and that kind of stuff, I think this will make a difference for a rookie quarterback. But I do want to just announce my Alex, I generally agree with your general assessment. Baker Mayfield has been playing different this season. He has stepped up when he's needed. He's elevated players. He is certainly playing like the Baker Mayfield that the Browns hoped they had, but never really got because their team was too bad.
Yeah,
but
I think at this point, it's like not to get off topic too hard, but look at like all the QBs in Cleveland.
No,
that's a franchise thing. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying that's a Baker Mayfield issue. I am saying that is definitely a byproduct of going to a team that is just mismanaged. I do think that your team has too good of a defense for the Tampa Bay Bucks to overcome. I do think that Baker Mayfield, despite the fact that he has elevated his play this year, I just don't think he can overcome your team in terms of their defense. Even a dwarf like Mayfield, while he's just a few step stools above a hobbit like Kyler Murray, it's still a point of contention where the height matters in terms of being able to pan the field when you have pressure in your face. Like, it's just a fact. Like, I got a buddy of mine who's 6'10". I got another buddy who's 6'9". I got another friend who's 6'6". Those dudes are very, very tall. And you look at defensive linemen, and that's kind of generally speaking, 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", 6 whatever. Mayfield's 5'10". He's not a tall guy. And so when you have a height difference like that and the guys are right in your face, that makes throwing an anticipatory throw that much more challenging for a guy who is shorter in stature like a Baker Mayfield. I have my score prediction is 27-23 for the Chiefs. I think that this is going to be one of those clutch Mahomes pieces. I think there's going to be a period of time where people are going to think that the Bucks are going to be looking like they may come out ahead. And I think this is the game where Kelce and Mahomes begin their rekindling of uptick in terms of play. This is about the right time of the season too, Alex, for Kelce and Mahomes to start, connecting again, if you will. This is kind of the make a star in your calendar moment, in my opinion. And I think this is going to be that game. So I have a 27-23 Chiefs. I think the touchdown is to Travis Kelce. I think he dominates a final drive between he and Mahomes. And I think you see like a 4-play Kelce touchdown Mahomes kind of combo to finish off the game. And then I think the defense, and then I think that in my opinion, that your defense locks it out. I think that there's going to be a last foray of the Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Bucks. And I think something about your defense kind of stymies them and gets you guys the win. I do predict this to be a pretty exciting game. So I would highly suggest actually watching it because I think it's going to be.
You got no other option on Monday night, so
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Rich. I have the Chiefs winning this one pretty handedly. In my opinion, I have it 28-13. I don't think
on wood, man.
I don't think the I don't think the Bucs are really going to be able to do anything on offense. They're down their best two receivers, obviously Godwin and Evans. And their only way of really trying to score the ball is going to be running the ball, and that's going to not work because the Chiefs are the second best team against the run. So whoever they try to use, White, whatever their plan is with running the ball, yeah, Tucker, whoever they are, it's not going to work. So I think it'll
Sucks for
be,
me.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be. I have a very like two ways this game's going to go. It's either going to be like you said, the Bucs will go up kind of early, like 10-0, like a typical 10-0 lead, and everybody thinks, oh, and then the Chiefs will come back and stomp them like in typical Chiefs fashion. So yeah, I got 28-13. I have a pretty handily victory.
Yeah, I'm the same position. I think KC is going to dominate over this game. Again, not having those wide receivers, just watching KC's defense stuff to run, keeping the Raiders under 40 yards rushing. And I might even have to change my score. I gave 3 more points than Robert, so I had it at 27-16. It could even be worse than that. I have a feeling it could be a blowout.
Knock on wood. Don't let you guys talk this all up.
But I do feel like, I will say that I think Patrick Mahomes will continue the streak and he'll throw another pick.
Probably.
That one I do agree with because he's done it every game.
Yeah,
so why not?
Why not?
I will say the last time that they played is when Mahomes had his, like Michael Jordan spin touchdown pass. So he might pull some trick out of the old hat for this one. I don't know. Some may say that was a forward pass, though. But,
Yeah. But the interesting thing was we all agree, generally speaking. Like we have various varying degrees of agreement, but we all generally agree that the Chiefs will continue their win streak this season. And Alex, I'm sure you're happy to hear that we are in lockstep on that front, because that's a good thing for you.
Yeah, no, I like that. But I'm just gotta knock on wood. I feel like you guys are just kind of trying to butter me up to just trying to.
No, don't worry. The voodoo positive vibes with the hope of negative vibes will come from me next
100%. Oh, it's
100%. Right?
Yeah, Rich.
We hope it's all the opposite.
I'm like this, I'm like that Chihuahua meme with every positive thing you guys say. I'm like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
No, I do think that next week is more of a coin flip just because of the success of our defenses.
For sure. And I mean AFC West game
and division and it's a division game, but this week I think that there is enough going in your favor where I think you're going to be moving forward and doing your thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
I'd be shocked if the Bucs are able to pass 17 points, to be honest.
I think 8.5's the spread. Yeah.
So, Jack, I got a question for you. Your Las Vegas Raiders this coming week. Want to know your thoughts. And ladies and gentlemen, Alex does need to go to his other podcast.
I typed my little predictions in here.
And we will add in Alex's predictions for the last 2 games here as we hit them very quickly. But after we are done here, please go check out the Lightning Fast Fantasy Podcast on the Locked Down Defense YouTube channel. That's with Alex and Coach Defense. And Coach Defense, you might remember, was the former Chargers rep here on the AFC West Wild Wild West podcast. Coach and I have known each other for a few years now. Great dude. Certainly a welcome member there of the Chargers group and Chargers fan base. He's got some great knowledge of football.
All right, guys.
Later.
Robert, I hope you enjoy this last comment I dropped. That was
Oh.
See ya.
Wow. All right.
Well, I'm trying to find the finger over here.
Yeah. So, Jack, what are your thoughts on your upcoming Raiders game?
So I think it's going to be a lot closer game than I thought in the very beginning of the year. In the very beginning of the year, I thought this was not going to be a game that the Raiders could even have a chance. But the way they played Kansas City, they had 2 chances to pull this stuff out, and they blew it. Again, what everyone's been saying, it's like, good teams find a way to win, bad teams find a way to lose. Right now with the Bengals, T. Higgins, who knows if he's going to play or not? He didn't practice today, and their tackle, was it Brown? He didn't practice either, so that's huge for them. And they're only 3-5, and the Raiders are 2-6, and so it's not that much of a disparity. Raiders have a much better defense than the Bengals. Bengals offense, of course, is better than the Raiders, but it's going to be really interesting to see with Parham coming back and Andre James being out, JPJ going to center. Parham should go to the left guard position, which he started, the last 2 years at. So that's an improvement over Whitehair. I think they're going to have a much better offense and be able to run the ball on them. So I see it as a much closer game than, I did previously. I still don't have the Raiders winning because they haven't found ways to win. You got to prove that to me. You got to show that to me, let's go. Raider Nation, we need to see it from our coaching staff and from the players being able to pull these type of games out. But right now, I got it a 24-21 Raiders loss.
All right. 24-21. Yeah, I am kind of in the same boat. This is a really tough one for me because it's like strength v strength and weakness versus weakness. You have a really bad offense going up against a really bad defense, and a really bad defense going up against a really good offense. So
Raiders don't have a bad defense.
No, the Raiders have a bad offense going up against a bad defense. The Bengals have a good offense going up. Sorry. Bengals have a good offense going up against a good defense. Raiders have a bad offense going up against a bad defense. Yes, my mistake. So this is going to be a very kind of weird game. It's going to be which side gives first. Is it going to be the Raiders defense or is it going to be the Bengals offense? So I think this is going to be, I have the Raiders winning this game. I think Joe Burrow is going to struggle a little bit. I think Max Crosby and those pass rushers, and that pass rush is going to absolutely eat him up. I'm not sure if T. Higgins is playing this week or not. If he's not, I definitely give the Raiders a better chance, just because we've seen Burrow struggle mightily without both his wide receivers out there. So yeah, I have the Raiders winning this. It's a very tight-knit game. I have it at 17-16. It's gonna be something where like one turnover in the fourth quarter is gonna change the complexity of this game. And so that's where I have it. I have the Raiders pulling away with this one.
I like that, Robert.
So I have 2 scores, and Robert and I agree.
Hey!
I actually have the Raiders winning this. I originally did not think you were going to. However,
Really?
the Bengals have proven that they're floundering, and they are a rudderless team.
They are.
And I think the Raiders have an advantage actually as a result of that. In my opinion, that shows that Joe Burrow is not a good leader.
Ooh, wow. Shots fired.
I'll take Joe Burrow any day.
Look, I did not say he wasn't talented. I said he wasn't a good leader. There's a difference.
Aaron Rodgers-esque, if you will.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers leads his team because he's respected. I'm not even sure Joe Burrow was respected on his team given the way that they're playing.
You think Aaron Rodgers is respected on that Jets team right now?
I do.
With the way they're going?
I do.
After they fired, that defense, I want to say this. I'll just say this very quickly. That locker room will turn on him because that defense especially did not want Robert Saleh fired. And Rodgers is the only one that made that happen. So I don't know necessarily if leadership is something that Rodgers portrays well.
No.
Maybe he is in the locker room. I could be totally wrong. You know what? If his teammates want to come out and defend him, hey, you got me beat because I can't.
I listen to
fight for
Jet shows too, and I listen to all sorts of shows, and I kind of feel like that locker room is divided right now.
that.
And Robert, you made a
100%.
good point. You got the offense, you got the defense, and again, even looked like Williams. I mean, Rodgers is talking down to his own players. So,
Dude,
Sure.
that is
So let's run with that, right? So you're saying that Aaron Rodgers is making mistakes and not doing what he should often or would likely do.
he's
Okay,
not
cool.
being a leader.
yeah. He's
All right,
not being a
so-
good leader. Yeah,
Well,
no.
well, sure, but let's go down that route. So maybe Joe Burrow isn't going down that direction, but Joe Burrow is also not showing out on the field and not making good decisions, not taking care of the football. He's not adjusting protections. He's not recognizing things that someone of his caliber and his draft status should be doing. Okay, cool. And also he's chewing up so much of their cap space that
Yeah.
they cannot course correct as a result of his cap number. Okay, great. So we can establish that even if we say Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow on the same thing, at least Aaron Rodgers has career statistics and longevity to show that he can actually do better. Joe Burrow does not, because the dude can't stay healthy and stay on the field.
That part.
Right?
Yep.
Great. So
Agree there.
you have A versus B. Now, Joe Burrow with the Bengals right now, I think is in a little bit of hot water because he needs to show that he can actually lead his team to success and overcome deficiencies, and I'm not sure he can do it. Now, with that in mind, I believe because you're talking strength versus weakness or strength versus strength, however you want to put it, I see this being a slightly lower scoring game than others would otherwise see. I think that you're going to start seeing people overthinking things and doing kind of silly things and that kind of stuff just because it's going to be a little bit of a mess. So I see this game being a little lower scoring than others would think. But I do see, Jack, I do think this is going to be a Raiders win. I see this being a 17-10 game if T. Higgins does not play.
Again, yeah, it's all about T.
If T. Higgins plays, I see the Raiders winning 21-13. Because I think the Bengals are going to then force throws that they shouldn't. And I just believe you're going to see some differences. However, like we discussed earlier in the podcast, you have a legit defense. And I mean legit. And so I think your defense is up to the task, but I think it depends on the style of play that you're then forced with that will determine A versus B. I am going to go with the lower scoring game because I do believe that the Bengals are trying to trade T. So I think they're holding him back in hopes that they trade him to another team.
Come over.
Any team.
Come on over.
Any team but the Chargers, obviously. And just pick one. But
please.
I believe that you're going to see him get traded over to some NFC contender of some sort. Just to
don't trade him, make him a free agent next year. Because we know Telesco's not going to sign him or make a trade for him. Well, but he may sign him in free agency.
Jack, the interesting thing may be is given the fact that you and the Bengals are playing together this weekend, a lot of NFL teams prior to trade deadline love that face-to-face discussion because a lot less things get leaked as a result. If your team is truly interested in T as a player, after playing the Bengals, I could, in fact, see if your Las Vegas Raiders are truly seeking for that Davante Adams replacement.
I would love that, Richie. I would absolutely. He'd be a perfect replacement.
It's possible.
It is, but again, Robert brought up, many weeks ago, he doesn't make any trades. So he's made 2 in 11 years. So I'm holding my breath.
He already traded Davante Adams.
Right?
Oh, no, he trades away players. He's only made 1 trade for a player in his entire tenure as a GM.
Guess who one of your new owners is?
True.
Yeah.
TB12.
This is
Tom
true.
Brady is looking at a future quarterback who you're going to need to target and going to say very simply, you need a wide receiver that can catch contested catches and has some veteran presence at the NFL. You got rid of Devontae Adams because he was kind of toxic to the locker room, and that's cool, but you need to bring in someone who wants to be there. And if T. Higgins wants to be there, the answer is yes.
Oh, I'm all for it. You know, there are just a lot of rumors about Godwin next year, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really interested in Godwin. I'd rather have a T. Higgins, not coming from a super serious injury, but not the same type of injury.
You need a guy that's really good at catching contested catches, and T. Higgins has that as a pedigree. And so I think with the rookie,
Mike Williams.
Well, Mike Williams
I don't want
lost
Mike
that.
Williams.
Mike Williams lost that when he got more comfortable sitting on a pine bench than playing on the field. So the problem is that,
hey, Carlos, say what you want to say, dude. You're my brother, dude. Salute. Say what you want to say. Put in the chat.
Yeah,
good?
Always.
Carlos, if you have a question, man, throw it in the chat. I will personally ensure that it is brought on screen, and will be addressed on this show. So put what you want to say in here, and we'll get this displayed and discuss it very briefly here. We are running low on time, so I do need to throw over to Robert here quick to get his Chargers take on his upcoming game. Robert, go ahead, take it away, and we'll circle back to any questions that pop up in the chat.
Yeah, so for this Chargers game, they got the Browns coming up. I have us winning this game. I don't want to say pretty handedly, but I have us winning this game comfortably. I have us winning this game 23-10. I have us continuing the kind of trajectory our defense has been on. We're at 13
So your
points
opponent
allowed.
is
The Browns.
Okay.
So we're going up against Jameis Winston, who's coming off a very great start against the Ravens. Threw for over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Should have had a pick, but absolutely just got let go of. I don't even know what happened on that. But I am not incredibly worried. I understand Jameis just did ball out, so I know that a lot of people are saying I'm obviously this team with Jameis is a lot better than what it was with Watson, but they also did go up against the worst pass defense in the league with the Steelers. Or oh my God, what am I saying? With the Ravens. The Ravens are currently averaging a league worst 292 yards passing per game. And also tied for bottom of the league worst with the Jags and the Panthers for passing touchdowns allowed per game at 2. So this is pretty much right on par. And this is also kind of a little snippet why I believe the Broncos have a very good chance at winning this game at Baltimore. I know they have a stout defense, but it's very severely lacking in the passing category. So I definitely think, this will be kind of like a lot of people are picking up Jameis Winston in a fantasy. He's a hot waiver wire commodity this week. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have him disappointing a lot of people this weekend. I think the Chargers go into Cleveland and take care of business. So I think it's just going to come down to not turning the ball over. Once again, this, I sound like a broken record, but this really is the same kind of game plan for the Chargers every week. Don't turn the ball over, control the clock, run the ball as best you can. Maybe not for necessarily, 150 yards or whatever, but just make it respectable. Make them respect the run enough so Herbert can get those throwing lanes open. Let Ladd cook. Maybe we get DJ Chark back this week. That'll be another weapon on the outside that will be happy to have back. I've heard rumors about Palmer looking to be traded, so I'm very curious to see if we're going to make a trade for somebody. Richie, you were just mentioning about, Raiders and the Bengals potentially looking at T. Higgins after playing them. That could be the exact same situation with us facing the Browns. If we beat them, maybe we get a look at Njoku. Ortiz makes a conversation. He's somebody I'm very interested in trading for, and especially if we beat them this week. They're at Njoku. Yeah, whatever. It's a great idea, so that's why you're saying that.
I wanted Njoku on my Denver Broncos, so the answer is no.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful that that will be the case this weekend. But yeah, I mean the Browns are not dead last. They're 30th in interceptions. They have one pick on the year, and Herbert only has one pick on the season. So it would just make sense that Herbert would throw a pick this week, right? So
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
very yeah. It would make all the sense in the world. So I'm gonna knock on wood really quick. So
I think
now
Ward's coming back, is he not?
who?
Ward is back this week, is he not?
Yes, Denzel Ward. I believe he is back. Yes, I
Yeah.
want to say. So it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it'll be very similar to some other games in our earlier in the year where it's very close early on, and then we kind of pull away as we grind down the defense a little more and more as the game goes on. But yeah, I have us 26-13. I think it'll be a nice 23-10. And I think it'll be a nice, comfortable victory for the Chargers, and that'll put us at 5-3.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a higher scoring game.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so I see this being a little bump that up just a little bit. I do believe that Denzel Ward is going to be a bit of a difference maker. And I do think that because you don't have a ton of film on him this year, you are going to pretend that you do. I think it's going to be, he hasn't played a ton, so you're not going to get a ton on him in terms of what he looks like in this team. So I see this as being I actually believe they beat the Chargers this week. I actually think the Browns kind of surprised you a little bit. I think their defense is going to.
He didn't practice today, so maybe he may not play. We'll see.
So
he did suffer a concussion last week.
Yeah, so my comments change if he's not playing, but I'll kind of give an A versus B. So if he plays, I see the combination of the defense and pass rush against your offensive line being a challenge. I think that they have a different their defensive line is built a little bit different than what you're used to. And so I have this being a 27-21 game for the Browns. And that's if Ward plays. If Ward doesn't play, I actually do believe you would win. But I think it's going to be a closer game and a lower scoring game than you think it's going to be, at which point I would then downgrade my score to being something along the lines of 23-21, last minute field goal type thing for the Chargers. So that's kind of where I think things are going to land. Because the pass rush doesn't change with Ward, right? The pass rush is still going to come, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to be able. I think you're going to be able to get off a few extra plays to kind of get down the field and win that and get that game-winning field goal. That's just my prediction. Now, I could be completely wrong because I don't follow the Chargers as closely as some of the other teams and stuff like that in the league. I pay attention, but I'm not you or Bolt Bros or anyone else.
You're right.
But I have this as we'll call it between a 27-point victory for the Browns or 24-point victory for the Browns. And then I can swing over to you guys if Ward doesn't play. If Ward doesn't play, I think you guys win. But I think if he does, I think that's a bridge too far for your team, because I think you're going to be I think this is going to be the test where your team underestimates your opponent.
I see. The thing is, I don't think Harbaugh is going to let us underestimate our opponent, and especially after that game in Arizona, I think that was a really big wake-up call for this team and realizing, hey guys, we cannot be doing this. This has got to stop. The offense, and I truly do think at the beginning of the season, the offense was really faltered because of the Herbert ankle injury. I think now he looks A-okay to me. We saw him run for the longest career rush he's ever had, 39 yards last week against the Saints. So if he can get those legs running again, and his legs are a concern that the Browns are going to have to deal with, I think we can win this game even more handedly than what I think we already will. But I also believe that this pass rush is going to be a little bit scary with Myles Garrett. It's going to be, Joe Alt. It's going to be Rashawn Slater. Another
on
big,
the money right there, Robert.
Yep.
That's where it's going to be like the nullification. You got a Myles Garrett, scary record. But you got scary tackles. I mean, you got probably the best bookends in the league. So I do see like that kind of nullifying. And I do agree with you, maybe in the beginning, but I do see those big boys wearing the Browns down. So I look at your passing game and I look at their passing game. I feel like Jameis is like, okay, he went crazy. 3 touchdowns. Yeah. But you know what? You look at his history, though.
Right.
He takes big risks. You got a good defense. Their offensive line is not very good. Man, I've been so impressed with Ford this year. It's like, God damn. It's like he's really gone above and beyond. So, no, I believe that Jameis is probably going to have a couple picks in this game. Wow, I don't think he's going to do what he did.
I like the sound of that. Yeah, I definitely don't think he's going to throw for 303 touchdowns on this defense. No way.
And I honestly, I just don't. I feel like, Myles Garrett's the guy, but if you just give like a running back to give a chip or a tight end to give a chip with the tackles that you have, I mean, I think you can contain that pressure. So, I mean, I see your offense is overall better than the defense, and I see your defense is better than their offense. So there's no way I can't not pick the Chargers to win this game. And I'm right there with you. We're pretty close in our scores. I said it behind the scenes. I got them going 23-13 for the Chargers.
Got another field goal for the Browns.
It's a double-digit win in my opinion.
Yeah, I have the same thought. I think this defense is just too good. I think Jameis Winston's going to go from such a opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of defenses he's facing. He's going to go from one of the worst passing defenses in the league to one of the best in terms of the Chargers. We're third in the league in red zone touchdown percentage allowed. Obviously first in points per game allowed. 6th in third down efficiency. So there's just so many obstacles, I think, that Jameis and the Browns are not going to be able to overcome. I thought it was a great win for them last week against the Ravens, a division opponent, obviously. That also has a big factor coming into it. You never really knows what happens in those division games. But I think I'm fairly confident in this game for the Chargers. So yeah, I have us going to 5-3.
Well, I think that is going to wrap it up.
Carlos, I got to shout out Carlos. Yeah, brother, dude. Hopefully we can, meet up one day, watch a Raiders game all the time, brother. Raider Nation, live and die. Moom to the tomb.
So I actually think when you look at kind of the way things are going, we've kind of summarized all the different games and all the different things and summarized last week's game. And Robert, given the fact that he decided not to show up a couple weeks ago, decided to I'm just joking.
Hey, Robert gets
I know.
You had a if there was ever
a viable,
legitimate
God bless you, Robert.
like
appreciate it, guys.
For sure. Like the answer is for sure. And so anyways, when we look back at all the different games, we've kind of covered all the different things and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna leave it there for the show and see where our predictions land. I love the fact that people challenge us on the show.
Oh,
I think
that
is amazing. I can't stress that on us.
This is why we love sports.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the fact that I have Broncos fans that are pushing back on me. I love the fact that I have other teams that are pushing back on me here too, and we have like a
other teams defending us.
And I love that Raider fans want to hang out.
Yeah. And so I love that. I'm very much looking forward to when the Raiders re-elevate some of their teams to really make the AFC West a full 4-team complementary division that is a slugfest for all other divisions to go through.
Just quarterback, man.
They're missing a quarterback and a couple other pieces, and they're there.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that time because I think that'll kind of bring the division back to its glory days when we had some real competitive teams in our division. We have 3 right now, and I think the Raiders are so close. I really
don't let that
Oh,
take you away
Willie,
from the
you're
fact.
killing me.
Don't let that take you away from the fact that the Raiders will still play all their other teams in the division tough. I know the Raiders are 2-6, but do not let that change the fact
No.
that
Hey,
these
all I know
games.
is I'm not as scared of Kansas City as I was, before we played them, because they had
Right.
chances. And I want to answer one question in chat because I love this. Willie, absolutely. I was a fan of the show. I wasn't a host. I was just a fan of the show and a big fan of the show because of what you just said. Go ahead and post that, Richie. And now I'm a host on the show because of what this show is and what it represents and the respect. We can talk our little smack, but always respectful. It's what it made being the biggest mod in Raider Nation right now on other Raider shows. But coming over here and we can talk about all our teams, and it's always good to know, keep your enemies closer than your friends. So
Yep.
even though these are my friends, but your teams are my enemies.
On Sundays we're enemies.
Right.
Yeah. Sundays are enemies. The rest of the week we're fine. Ladies and gentlemen, until next week, where the West Side is the best side, I want to thank you all for joining us. Click the like button down below and share this video with everybody else so we can get more people just like you who are fans of football. And until next week, where the West Side is the best side. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard.